Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the MLC's 2023 annual membership meeting. My name is Chris Arend. I'm the CEO of the MLC, and I am really happy to be here today with so many of you and with some members of our team to share some updates on the past year of our operations and a look ahead to next year, 2024. We have well over 100 participants on today, and that number looks like it continues to grow. Thank you all for being here, for being so engaged with us, and for continuing to play your part in our operations and our efforts to serve you. Because of the large number of people participating and because we have a number of slides to get through today, we do not have the chat or the Q&A on. That's one of the rare instances where we don't do that. But please don't hesitate to contact our support team if you have any questions about anything that we present to you today or anything else that relates to the MLC. Our support team is always happy to speak with you, and we'll share some information later in the meeting on how you can reach them. So without further ado, I'm going to begin to advance our deck and just give you a quick overview of our agenda. We're going to open with some governance updates and then present a series of updates on our operations. And those updates are organized in the 6 additional sections that you see in the agenda to the right. And without further ado, we'll get right into our governance updates. So the MLC is governed by a board of directors that features 14 members, along with 3 non-voting members. Those current members are all featured here on this slide. And as you can see, the board is comprised of songwriters, independent or smaller publishers, and the largest publishers in the US industry. Our non-voting reps represent songwriters, publishers, and the digital services with whom we work. Each of our directors serves for a 3-year term. Terms are staggered, and the terms for the second set of seats expire this year. This slide shows how that cadence works. So this year, we had the terms for 2 of our songwriter seats expire, as well as 1 of the Class B publisher seats. So we will be addressing the 3 seats today whose terms have ended this year. Starting with the songwriters, we currently have 4 songwriter directors on the board, Kara, Kevin, Craig, and Oak. And the initial terms for both Kevin and Craig expired this year. Kevin asked to be considered for a second term. Craig decided not to seek a second term. So we want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank Craig for all of his contributions to the board and to the MLC in his term. We're grateful for him and look forward to serving him going forward as a member. Kevin Kadish has been asked to serve a second 3-year term, so he will remain on the board. And Troy Burgess has been selected to fill the open seat previously held by Craig Weissman. So congratulations to Kevin and to Troy, and welcome, Troy, to the board. We look forward to having you involved with our operations for the next 3 years. Our publisher seats, moving on to our Class B directors. These directors represent publishers with a license or market share of at least 5/1000th of 1%. Our current Class B directors are Lisa, Mike, Rel, Scott, and Tim. This year, the initial term for Lisa Coleman expires. And it is now my pleasure to introduce Ashley Hall, CPA and partner with the accounting firm called Witham, who will announce the results of the Class B member election for that 1 seat whose term has expired. Ashley, are you there?
Hi, yes, thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. Witham was engaged by the MLC to execute the duties of the voting inspector as outlined in its bylaws. We've completed those duties, and so I'm here to announce those election results to you. Based upon the certified results, Elisa Coleman has been re-elected to the MLC board. Back to you, Chris.
Wonderful. Ashley, thank you so much. And congratulations, Elisa, on being reelected. We are very excited to have the opportunity to work with you again for the next 3 years. And we will bring Elisa on to join us in a few minutes to offer some remarks to those of you in attendance. Our third group of board directors are the Class C directors, selected by the 5 publishers with the greatest market share among all publishers. Each of those Class C members selects 1 director. Those directors currently are Bob, Claire, David, Jeff, and Michael. And the companies that comprise the Class C members, as well as the directors they have selected, will not change in the coming year. So no changes there. Onto our advisory committees. The MLC works with 3 statutory advisory committees established by Congress: the Unclaimed Royalties Advisory Committee, or UROC, the Dispute Resolution Committee, or the DRC, and then the Operations Advisory Committee, or the OAC. These are the current members of those committees. As you will see, they are a mix of songwriters and publishers in the case of the first 2 committees, and then a mix of publishers and representatives of digital services in the case of the third. Each member of our advisory committees also serves for a 3-year term, and those terms are also staggered. Terms for the second set of seats expire this year. This slide shows the 11 seats that expire or that will be open to be renewed, along with the breakdown by committee. And then this slide highlights the individuals whose terms will be expiring this year. As you can see, again, 3 members of the Unclaimed Royalties Advisory Committee, 4 for dispute resolution, and then 2 publisher seats on the OAC. The digital services manage their participation in the OAC separately. We plan to announce any changes to the advisory committees early next year, once the full process of reviewing and selecting participants for those seats is completed. So check back in our member newsletter early next year and on our website when we announce any updates to our committee membership. But I want to acknowledge both the board and these committee members for all of their service to the MLC. We meet regularly with the members of the committees, both within their committees and then separately in all committee calls. And so they have a number of opportunities to both hear from the MLC and then to provide the MLC with feedback. And they do that on behalf of all of you here today. So please thank them as I do today for their service representing you and your interests. And now I'm going to hand it over to Elisa Coleman, the chair of our board of directors, to offer a few remarks. Elisa.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the members and invited guests of the MLC to our 3rd annual membership meeting. I'm Elisa Coleman, COO of ABCO Music and Records, and I serve at the members' pleasure as the board chair of the MLC. The board would like to thank all of its members for its continued interaction with the MLC as we continue to grow and create your ideal CMO. And I'd like to thank you all who voted for me, and I appreciate your support over the last 3 years and look forward to working with all of you in the next 3 years. Let me give you some highlights of what's happened in the last year at the MLC. As most of you know, it's been almost 3 years since the MLC launched operations in January 2021. In that time, the MLC team, under the direction of the board and with regular feedback from its advisory committees made up of songwriters and publishers, has completed 31 monthly royalty distributions on time and has directly distributed more than $1.5 billion in digital audio mechanical royalties to our members, all without any cost to you. The MLC provides an unprecedented level of transparency to our industry. Every month, we give songwriters and publishers a clear breakdown of the royalties processed, including the amounts collected, distributed, and reprocessed, and the amounts pending distribution, which are unmatched, unclaimed, or on hold. All of the MLC's unmatched uses can be searched by members at any time using the matching tool, effectively illuminating the black box in this part of our business for the first time. Additionally, companies can receive a weekly copy of all of the ownership information in the MLC's database for a mere $25 a month, something more than 200 organizations have signed up to do worldwide. This transparency has provided every member with an opportunity to play their part in the MLC's process to ensure that the MLC can fulfill its core mission. It is with your guidance as songwriters and publishers that the MLC's success has created a new standard for CMOs and PROs on a global basis. All of this helps our members collect more revenue, not just in the US, but in the rest of the world. But that's not all we do. We're also charged with educational initiatives and outreach. Members of the MLC team attended more than 200 events this year and participated in many online educational workshops, panels, and webinars, meeting and educating current and prospective members about the MLC. The recordings of many of these events, as well as all of our educational videos, are available to you or others on our YouTube channel. Finally, we convened our first working group of members to help us create best practice guidelines for matching derivatives, remixes, and medleys. These guidelines will benefit both songwriters and publishers. In the coming year, we intend to convene another working group to compile similar best practice guidelines for royalty tracking and look forward to your participation. While there is always more work to be done, today's meeting offers members an opportunity to hear in more detail what the MLC has accomplished this past year and what the MLC will be working on in the coming year. The board and advisory committees recognize that the most important part of what we do is to ensure your livelihood with accurate and timely payments. We're proud to volunteer our services in this regard and hope you will continue to engage with us for the betterment of us all. Thank you for taking your time to join us today. And now I'll pass it back over to Chris, who will talk about the things that have been accomplished at the MLC in the last year and to come. Thank you again.
Thanks so much, Elisa. I appreciate you joining us and for providing some of the highlights of the things that we've accomplished over the past year. We're now going to continue and get into some of the details. As you'll see, the sections of our presentation are oriented around the guiding principles that we have established for the organization. I'll just put that agenda up one more time so you can see it. Those principles are excellence, diversity, transparency, and service. These are principles that we talk about as a team every day, and they very much inform the work that we do. Because these are aspirational, there are always opportunities for us to find ways to do better and to improve what we do in order to serve you as well as we can. Of course, our mission is quite simple. It's to ensure that you receive your mechanical royalties accurately and on time. While a simple statement to offer, it is an incredibly complex process that we spend every day working on. But know that our focus is clear and we are not distracted by other objectives. This is our only objective. We continue to be led by an incredibly talented and experienced leadership team. And as you can see from this slide, they have a variety of experiences in our industry, some of whom have been in the industry for many years, others came from other industries and brought deep experience in their subject matter expertise areas. But each of them makes significant contributions every day in both leading the MLC and our team, and then also in managing their respective areas of responsibility. I'm certainly grateful to have the pleasure to work with them every day. Our team now numbers a little more than 150. Most of those employees are based in and around Nashville, but we have team members in other cities, both in the US and a small team over in London. If you happen to be in Nashville, hopefully you'll have an opportunity to stop by our office in the Gulch neighborhood of Nashville. We are now regularly hosting industry and MLC member events at our office now that COVID has waned a little bit. So if you happen to be in the neighborhood, please reach out to any of us on the team. We'd love to see you at our office when you're in town. The numbers. So we'll get right into some of the headline details. We have been working actively with DSPs since the months leading up to license availability back in 2021 to get all of the DSPs operating in this interactive streaming space connected with the MLC, providing the usage data and the royalties that the law and the regulations require. And I'm now pleased to report that in our most recent distribution, we included royalties from 48 blanket licensees. We have now completed, as Elisa mentioned, 31 monthly distributions. All have been on time or early. So for any use that takes place, any stream of a song, we will be reporting initially royalties for those streams within 75 days after the end of the month during which that stream took place. And then, as you can see, we have distributed a total of more than $1.5 billion in royalties. Most of that blanket royalties that we distribute directly, but a not a significant amount that is processed by the MLC, but then ultimately paid by the DSPs to rights holders directly, to those rights holders who have remained in voluntary licenses with those DSPs. We often talk about the formula for fulfilling our mission, and it is represented here in this slide. We continually seek to engage more members, recognizing that we need that first connection in order to pay rights holders entitled to receive royalties that we administer. Once we have those members engaged, we seek to help them provide more data, as much data as we can get from them about the songs that they have written. And it's that combination of members and more data that allows us to pay out an ever-increasing percentage of the royalties that we receive from our digital service partners. We now have more than 32,000 members. We have added to date more than 9,000 this year alone. Our database consists of data for more than 33 million unique works, and we have added data for more than 3 million works in this calendar year to date. We now have matched a little more than 90% of the royalties that we have processed through the October distribution. And again, we have distributed more than $1.5 billion in royalties, either directly or back through DSPs pursuant to those voluntary licenses. One notable change that took place earlier this year, the rates for the phonophore rate period were finalized in the waning hours of 2022, and as of January of 2023, those rates became effective. That meant that 75 days after the end of January, we began distributing royalties that were paid and calculated at the new phonophore rates. That started in the April distribution. We are now on track, thanks to the higher rates for the phonophore period that were negotiated, to process more than $1 billion in royalties in the first 12 months of the phonophore rate period. So all of you hopefully saw an increase in your royalties starting in that April distribution. Moving on to our next section, when we talk about transparency, we are often talking about the royalties that we are not able to pay out, and in particular, our unmatched royalties. I'm going to start and just share a couple slides on our blanket unmatched royalties. So these are royalties that were paid to us pursuant to the blanket license over the last 2.5 years that we have not yet been able to distribute to you, our members. As you can see, our match rates, the percentage of royalties that we've been able to match to works in our database, have continued to improve. Both our initial match rates, which are shown in the middle of this slide, those are the rates after that initial distribution of royalties before we have attempted to reprocess any remaining unmatched royalties. So now we are currently achieving a little over 85% match rate for the initial distributions. And then those match rates, when we factor in the additional time and additional effort that we take through reprocessing to try to match the remaining unmatched royalties to new data that we receive, those current match rates are now above 90% for both the 2021 and 2022 distribution periods. And for 2023, they are at a 88.5%. If you add all those together, even with the most recent periods, our current match rates are just over 90%. As Elisa mentioned, though, we provide a whole host of information about our distributions, and we do that each month in our member newsletters. So for all of you who are here today, hopefully you are receiving those newsletters. The very first section in every newsletter is that royalty distribution recap for the most recent month. Each month we share total royalty pools processed, the percentage of royalties matched, the total royalties we collect, and the total royalties that we distribute. We also then quantify the total amount of royalties that we were not able to match, as well as the amount of royalties that we could match to a work in our database, but whose shares were not claimed by a member. So in that way, you know the difference between royalties that can't be matched because we were not able to find a song in our database to match them to, and the royalties that were matched to songs, but that cannot be fully distributed because not all of the shares have been claimed. We also identify the royalties that are on hold for various legal or other reasons, and then we add at the end the amount of royalties that we've distributed via reprocessing, so you know how much progress we are making in continuing to work down the unmatched royalties from prior distributions. And then for the last year or so, the amount of matched historical royalties that we have been able to distribute. So again, all of this information is provided every month in our member newsletter in those monthly royalty recaps. We also provide an annual royalty recap. For the last couple of years, that's been in our February member newsletter. And then in our annual reports, which we publish in June, we have an extensive collection of data that we publish in those reports as well. All of this represents our commitment to being transparent about the work we do, the success we're able to achieve, and the work we need to continue to do to try to reduce the amount of unpaid royalties as much as we possibly can. On the historical side, you will no doubt recall that early in 2021, just as we were beginning to stand up for operations, as required by, well, I should say, as provided for by the law, not required, but 21 digital services elected to transfer to the MLC a total of just under $427 million in historical royalties from prior periods that they were not able to distribute. Those royalties break down by the rate periods into the three buckets you see on the slide. So about $500,000 for the earliest periods, just under $53 million for the middle period, and then the majority of it, $373 million in the last 3 years before we began operating the blanket license. Those were also the first 3 years of the Photo 3 rate period. We have made great progress distributing royalties for the 2 older periods. The royalties for the third most recent period, the Photo 3 period, we have been holding pending the finalization of the rates for the Photo 3 period. Happily, those rates were also finalized earlier this summer, And the clock is now running for DSPs to deliver their revised data for the Phono 3 rates periods, which will allow us to begin paying out matched royalties from that substantial Phono 3 period that you see on your screen. I'll talk a little bit more about that toward the end of the presentation, but wanted to show you the progress that we've made in the earlier periods. I'm pleased to report that we have now distributed more than 80% of the royalties from that earliest period of unmatched activity, the royalties for uses that took place between 2007 and 2012. We have distributed just above 45% of the royalties from the second period. And while we have not yet distributed royalties for Phono 3, what I can tell you is that across all of the rate periods, we have matched more than 75% of the royalties still work in our database. So that certainly bodes well for the Phono 3 distributions that we hope to begin doing next year. So again, I'll come back to that topic at the end of the presentation, but right now I would like to hand the floor over to three of my colleagues to talk a bit more about the outreach and the education that the MLC does. And so it's my great pleasure to introduce Ellen Truly, our Chief Marketing Officer, Serona Elton, our Head of Educational Partnerships, and Dave Bogan, our Head of Third-Party Partnerships. Ellen, I'm going to hand it to you first.
Great. Thanks, Chris. It's great to be here today to share some of our outreach efforts. The MLC has lots of ways we engage with members and potential members in the industry, and we'd like to share some of those ways with you today, what we've been doing over the last year. So first, we are excited to be out in the marketplace in person. So we've been busy attending lots of industry conferences, as well as going to different parts of the country and the world to share information about the MLC. This includes conferences, events, panels, and our own MLC educational events. Serona, I'd like to bring Serona Elton out, our Head of Educational Partnerships. Please join me. Hi, Serona.
Hi, Ellen, and hello, everybody.
For the year, we have really amped up our in-person events.
Yes, I'm so excited to see people out there everywhere. We were just in New York, for example, for Mondo and for something called Digilog. And the same time I was talking at Digilog, Day was doing a workshop with the Recording Academy. This week I'm heading to New Orleans for MusicCon. It's really been a very, very busy travel schedule, and it's just so rewarding to meet people out there who want to talk about the MLC. We're all over the place.
Yes, we've kept you busy, and we're closing in, as Elisa mentioned, we're closing in on around 200 events this year, so it's lots going on. If we go to the next slide, we can see these are some of the cities we've been in over the last year. And please, if you're interested in MLC speaking to you or your group or organization, please reach out to us at marketinginfo@themlc.com. And I think my colleague's going to drop that in the chat as well, but we'd love to connect with you. So please let us know if you're interested. And Serona, one of the favorite things we like to show at these educational events is a great piece you created. Tell us how you came up with this infographic about the digital music landscape.
Yeah, this has sort of taken on a life of its own. It really just it's something I'm so proud of. And certainly I started it, but then it became a bit of a collaborative effort to get it to where it is today, and we continue to refine it. What I reached back into were the kinds of things that I use in my classes as a professor to help connect the way we view copyright and understanding copyright rights to the way that royalties are paid. And so this diagram really shows the flow of money from digital music services in the United States to the rights holders involved on the recording side of the house and the rights holders involved on the song, musical work side of the house, which is where the MLC lives. And so this diagram's on our website, and we've got all kinds of great videos that explain it. You start off by looking at that legend in the top right, and that sets you on your path, pun intended, to understand how the money flows down one of those 4 pathways. The left half of the screen is money that flows to rights holders of songs. The right half of the screen is money that flows to the rights holders of sound recordings. And so, yeah, it really, people do seem to like it. It has resonated with people.
Yes, it certainly has. If we go to the next slide, there's a QR code for anybody that wants to shoot that code, and you will get the link to that diagram. It is definitely one of our favorites. So we'll leave that up there for just 1 second. and it is also available on our website as well. On the next slide, you'll see another important way we've been doing education about the MLC, and it's through our YouTube channel. To date, we have over 85 videos on our YouTube channel. We've got it broken down here into two groups. We've produced several explainer videos, and that's just a really quick, easy way to understand who we are and what we do. And it's also great for our members to share with their co-writers or their counterparts, so they're also aware of the MLC. And we also have many of these videos in Spanish. We also have long form videos. Serena, you've been involved in a lot of those.
Yeah, our long form videos, they range 45 minutes to an hour, depending. And we record them when we have these live webinars where we dive deeply into a topic. And, we explain how to use our different tool sets and what the MLC is and why we're here. We get to go deep in these sessions. And so they generally are not animated. You're usually hearing from one of us MLC team members explaining some topic, and they're a perfect complement to these short, quick, get straight to the point little explainer videos that we've also been creating. So we have something for everybody, depending on your preferred style of learning.
Yes, and I think on the next slide, we just kind of show some examples of that. You want to touch on those, Serena? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So some of these, some of you are probably familiar with sessions about like, would you like to learn more about streaming royalties? And in that, we often talk about that diagram that we just showed you, trying to understand how long it will take for you to get paid. We dive deeply into that royalty process so that you can anticipate when you're going to see those royalties on your statement, and questions about how to interpret your royalty statement, how to read it, how to download it, how to work the data that's included in those files that you get. And so those would be some examples of these longer form videos where we really get to go deep. And if you can join us for our live webinars, fantastic. But if you can't make it to them, most of that content you will find in these videos.
Yes, great. Thank you. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@themlc, and check out all the great content we have there. Also, another way we connect with our members and potential members is through our social media channels. I'd love to invite Dave Bogan, our head of third-party partnerships, to join us. Dave, you there?
I'm here. Glad to
Okay,
join. Happy to join.
thank you. We spoke about YouTube, but there are lots of other ways to connect with us, including these social media channels you're seeing here.
Yeah, I think one of the great things that we're doing is making sure that we have content that is authentic to the platform, that has enabled us to engage with not only members but also creators that are not members of any kind of society, just really starting off their career to learn about the business. A lot of the material that Serena has created in the long form version, we have short form versions of that as well. We have static images that are shareable, that may get posted on other people's pages. We see a lot of artists and producers and lawyers, a lot of young music lawyers who share our content to their own page, which is really great for using our content as educational. And we create original content as well. For example, with Instagram, for the last 2 years, I've done an Instagram live series highlighting music industry entrepreneurs. And Serena has done a number of Instagram live interviews as well. So creating that original content for Instagram, long form content on YouTube, and then more industry content that works well in LinkedIn. It's really about making sure that the voice across each platform is authentic to the platform, and it really helps us with our engagement.
Absolutely. Yeah, we found those Instagram live sessions to be really popular. So we'll plan on doing more of those in the coming year. And Day, you've been involved in a lot of other initiatives, one of which is our programming for our cultural partnerships. Tell us what you've been up to in those initiatives this past year.
Yeah, so in my role, I kind of wear a number of hats when it comes to third-party partnerships. But one of the brands of partnerships that I'm really excited about is our cultural partnerships. And this is really a platform for working with organizations as well as highlighting individual creators and sort of ambassadors in these different historically marginalized groups. And throughout the year, we're doing programming that are aligned with cultural moments throughout the year. For example, Black Music Month and Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, LGBT Pride Month. So throughout the year, we have different programming where we're engaging our members as well as engaging with music industry professionals who are working with songwriters, composers, lyricists, and publishers across the country. And it really helps us to communicate our standard messaging, but through the voice and through the lens of these different groups, so that we can connect better and also tell their stories. One thing I want to point out is how we also engage our MLC members. This year, we're rolling out a webinar during Native American Heritage Month. And that idea was brought to us by MLC member. And we've had a number of ideas that have been brought to us by MLC members. And this is just one way that we're able to engage our members on content and initiatives at the MLC so that our members feel a part of what we're charged to do.
Absolutely. These cultural partnerships have had a great impact on our outreach efforts. So thank you for leading those efforts. You've also been very busy with a program you started about a year ago now. This one has got a unique name. Tell us what DERP is all about.
DERP is a funny name, but I love the name, which stands for Distributor Unmatched Recordings Portal. So it's a platform I think we're all really excited about because it, for the first time, created visibility for the music distributors to have visibility into, quote unquote, the black box. The DERP is a platform that shows music distributors the unmatched recordings, the recordings that they've distributed that we've been unable to match, and therefore potentially earning mechanical royalties for the songwriters behind those recordings, which are often the artists that they distribute. So we've engaged over 60 of the world's top independent music distributors. Some of those logos are on the screen here, such as TuneCore, CD Baby, Empire Symphonic, and Repost. And these distributors have been instrumental in helping us reach the quote-unquote long tail by communicating that we exist, communicating that these artists have another type of royalty that they may not know about. And then once those artists make their way over to our social media, as you saw, they get all this great content. The videos that explain to what we do, and that has helped us with an uptick in membership as well as an uptick in new work registrations. So this portal is a continued sort of process in terms of building out, but there's still many distributors out there. And if you're a member and if you know a music distributor, you can send them to derp.themlc.com to learn more about the DERP program.
Awesome. We've got some great traction with DERP. So looking forward to seeing what comes in the year ahead. And Serona, touching on something Day said, as part of our outreach to members, we've started some working groups. You were leading one of these in the last year on medleys and best practices in this area. Tell us how that working group worked and how they came to be.
Yeah. So this was something we were really excited to do, and it actually had to cut across a bit of the last year, starting the prior year. So we kind of developed a process where we put a call out to our members to see who was interested in being involved in a working group that was going to focus specifically on developing some best practices around medleys and medley work registration. So we put out a call for participation and heard from some of our members, and were able to turn that into a set group of people. And we had a kickoff meeting to sort of let everybody know what we were setting out to do. And then we had 3 deep dive sessions that where all of the participants really were sharing the things that they do, the challenges that they face, how they overcome some of those challenges. It was a lot of great sharing across the participants that helped us start to draft a document that we put together. So we drafted something, we sent that back for feedback and did a few feedback loops, and ultimately ended up publishing a 2-page guideline that explains how medley works need to be registered and, sort of provide some context. And that's now available on our website. And so we think that process worked pretty efficiently, and we're already starting now to look at the next working group that we're going to put together, which is going to focus on income tracking. So this was a great opportunity for us to engage with our members and for them to share their best practices and let us kind of compile all of that information together into something that we could share with all of our members to help them.
Yes, great. More to come on the working groups in the new year. Thank you, Day and Serona, for all your help on our outreach efforts. Now I'd like to bring in Lindsay Major, our head of customer experience, and Maurice Russell, our head of rights management, to talk about how we support our members.
Ellen, very happy to be here. So we support our members in a couple of ways. One is with tools and technology, and the other is with one-on-one support. Marisa and I are going to talk about technology first, and then we'll talk about how we support you one-on-one. So first, I want to talk about the member tools. In the portal right now, this is the suite of tools that we've intentionally designed for our membership to use to effectively and easily manage your catalog within the portal. I'm not going to go into a great amount of detail in these individually today, but we do have, as Ellen and team alluded to, our YouTube channel that's got tutorial videos. If you log into the portal, you've probably noticed when you click on one of these tools, we have a tutorial video that pops up right in your face. You can always also reach out to our support team if you need help navigating these. But first thing you should do is use our claiming tool. This allows you to claim your share of songs that are already registered in our database. It's very important that you claim your share to a work that's registered. If you register a duplicate, that could cause some issues getting paid. So first thing you do, use our claiming tool, claim your share to works that might already be in the database. The next, if it's a work that does not yet exist in the database, you can use one of our two registration tools. We have an individual work registration tool and a bulk upload tool. If you just have a handful of works to register, the individual work registration tool is probably for you. If you've got 10, 20 or so more, then bulk upload is probably good. After you have your works registered, you can then go ahead and use our matching tool. It's very important that your works are registered first before you use the matching tool. Matching tool allows you to suggest matches of unmatched sound recordings to the songs that you have registered. And then once everything's registered, everything looks good, we have enabled you to use the catalog export feature. This you can find in your catalog module. It gives you the ability to export your whole catalog into Excel and gives you really a lot of power right at your fingertips on however you want to look at your data. So great member tools that already exist. So now we're going to talk about some portal enhancements. So first, I'd like to highlight the member survey that we do every year. So we do the survey again every year. It's usually in Q1 around February, March of every year. We actively solicit our members' feedback on things that they like about the portal, the opportunities that they see, and we consider all of this feedback. This year, we had great participation. 1,200 people filled out our survey. Last year, that was up from last year. We had around 700 or 800 people. So we're really excited to see increased participation. Now, if you're somebody who did not fill out the survey, missed the email, didn't have time, maybe you're a new member, this is not the only way that you can give us feedback. We're constantly soliciting feedback. You can give it right to our support team. They also have a process where they gather that feedback and make sure it gets to the right parties. So feedback is really, really critical to us when we're talking about portal enhancements and building tools that work for our members. So based on all the feedback that we've received over the year, this is what the portal enhancements on the next slide is what some of the key things that we covered. This isn't all inclusive of everything the portal team did, but these were the big member facing ones that we heard a lot of feedback on and wanted to make sure that we acted on. So first we did our tool menu redesign. In the survey, and then again through our support channels, we heard a lot of feedback that once people were in the portal, they weren't really sure what to do next. So we reorganized that tool menu to be in the order that you should take steps in, similar to what we just talked about: claiming tool, work registrations, matching tool. We wanted to make it very obvious, so it's almost like a checklist as you're getting onboarded. We also, as I mentioned briefly, pin those instructional videos right to the tool, so that when you click on the tool, if perhaps this is your first or second time using it, we put that video right in front of you so that you don't have to go find it. And if you're like, I'm a pro, I don't need this, you can exit out of it and it's gone. So that was a big thing that we wanted to do, just make sure that it was very clear and very easy what steps you should take once you're in. Next, with the claiming tool enhancements, we heard some feedback that, the claiming tool search results were quite vast, and it wasn't really clear what needed to be what action needed to be taken. So in response to that, we went ahead and pinned all the 0% claimed works at the top of the search results. So when you go into the claiming tool, if your member has not claimed any shares on a work, those filter to the top, and that's probably a good indication that you need to look into that work to see if that's what you need to claim on. Another thing we did was try to filter out a bit of the noise, and we did filter out all the search results where your member does have a share claimed, but you can easily filter those back in by just toggling that back on, and you can see the whole picture. So a lot of power there, but making it a little bit more clear and easy of what works you do need to take action on. Moving along to the matching tool. The matching tool was a really big feature that we built. Claiming tool was huge, but matching tool took a lot of work to build that. And so we put out a first version, gathered a lot of feedback on how to make it better. And this year we did quite a bit of work on making that a lot more user-friendly. So that included the ability to export your match history. Similar to the catalog export, it puts your data directly in your hands and how you want to vision it and see what you need to do. In the match history, we also enabled you the ability to search and filter by status meaning accepted, partially accepted, rejected, whatever the status of that is. So if you're only interested in seeing things that were rejected and why that may be, you could easily get to that data. We also added rejection reasons in the match history, just so you could understand what next steps needed to happen to rectify that. And then we also, in the matching tool search results, you now have the ability to filter by source and value. So getting down to the things that are really important to you. Moving along in terms of new membership, we actually got quite a bit of feedback from recently signed up members that the membership process wasn't very straightforward. There were a lot of steps, a lot of questions. It was a little confusing. So we trimmed that down quite a bit, fewer steps in the sign-up process, a lot more straightforward in terms of what it is that we need to gather. And then this has also led to an improved verification process, which not only gets you approved faster, but is a bit more secure. So we're really excited about that new member sign-up process, especially because we have been adding new members pretty steadily. And then something that we get a lot of feedback on pretty regularly is just requests for improvements to our search. We've done a lot of work on our searches across the portal this year. We will continue that work into next year just to make sure that searches are not only producing results quickly, but they are more accurate results and the metadata fields that you want to search by. And then still to come this year, we've got some improvements to our claiming tool process, our individual work registration process. So those are all things that are still to come. And then yesterday, we released a new feature in the portal that we're really excited about. It's our new member dashboard. This is just a snapshot of really important information for you to have in terms of how much were you paid in the last distribution, what were you paid year to date, anything in your match history, just the snapshot of like the account as a whole. If you took the member survey last year, you probably noticed that we asked you some questions about what you wanted from a member dashboard. This is the first version. And again, just like we did with the matching tool and the match history, we will continue to iterate on this based on feedback, but we're really excited to release it. We released it yesterday. So go in, check it out, play around with it, and let us know what you think about it. And then to come. This is really exciting. A lot of our members have been wondering about this particular module. Again, another big lift, but we're really excited to announce that work is beginning on disputes and overclaims. In the coming months, you'll see the first version of this. Again, taking that same approach of releasing a first version, gathering your feedback, iterating on it to make sure that we have a tool that works well for you. But in this first version, you should be able to view your overclaims, search for them. There will be a relinquishment function, ability to amend shares, and the ability to an email button that easily allows you to communicate with the other party. So more to come on that, along with a lot of other portal features, but we're really excited to announce that work is starting on this one. And with that, I will bring out my colleague, Maurice.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. It's great to be here today. We're going to talk a little bit about the public database. As many of you know, the MMA requires that the MLC's Musical Works database be made publicly available. We provide access to the database in several ways. First, you can search for individual works on our website at themlc.com. Of notes, and I think Chris pointed this out earlier, total works in the database now stand at over 33 million unique works. This is up 15 million since our launch in January 2021, and up 3.3 million this year to date as of October 2023. And this is a reflection, I think, of the effort of our members to play their part and to review the data in their systems and to ensure that their works are registered with the MLC. And based on the numbers, it looks like they're doing a great job. Next slide. You can also obtain a download of the MLC's entire musical works database using the bulk data subscription program. The data in the subscription includes pretty comprehensive data of musical works, including data about the works themselves, the writers, publishers, administrators, sound recordings that are linked to the works, the products and releases that are linked to those sound recordings, as well as unclaimed or partially claimed musical works or unmatched sound recording products that were reported to us by DSPs. The only thing that it doesn't include is payment information like bank details and royalties, et cetera. There are over 200 subscribers to the bulk data subscription program. And again, the fee for this is very low. It's an initial fee of $100 and then $25 a month. And last, there is the Public Search API. An API is a piece of software code that you put into your system that enables you to connect your computer system to an external database so that you can exchange data with that database. The MLC's Public Search database allows you to submit searches in your system that pull from the MLC's public database. There are 100+ subscribers to the Public Search API. Now back to Lindsay to discuss support.
Thanks, Maurice. So now we're going to talk about the one-on-one support that we offer, and there are a lot of different flavors of this. First, we'll discuss the support team. So many of you have likely interacted with them. If you haven't, you should. We are available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can call us, chat us, fill out our contact us form. It's an email. My colleague has already put the contact us information in our chat, but if you ever run into any issues, definitely reach out to our support team. They're willing and able to help. This is just year-to-date metrics as of October 1st, I believe. We answer over 81% of our calls within 20 seconds or less. We answer over 91% of our chats in a minute or less, and then we reply to all of our emails within 2 hours. So again, high quality and very quick responses to your inquiries. And then we've also year-to-date, in the next slide, we've helped. This number again is as of October 1st. We've surpassed 18,000 support contacts year-to-date. Which we're on average be about between 1,800 and 2,000 contacts per month. And since inception, we've done over 65,000 contacts. So this is really a cornerstone of how we provide that one-on-one support. And this is available to any and all members for any and all issues you may be experiencing, whether that's within the portal or otherwise. So we're here, we're able to help, and we really like that. So over to Maurice.
Publisher Services team handles two key areas. First, we regularly conduct outreach to around 100 publishers each quarter. Many of these publishers have high volumes or require more frequent interaction with the MLC. If you're a publisher and you're interested in meeting with us, please reach out. We'd love to meet with you. The Publisher Services team also oversees key rights management functions, including conflicts and disputes, catalog transfers, royalty income tracking, and payee compliance, and payee compliance in connection with our distribution review process. And then there's the MLC's International Relations team, which is headed by Indy Chawla, who's the head of International Relations. To date, the MLC is connected with 102 CMOs around the world who represent publishers and writers in 121 countries. 2/3 of those are direct members of the MLC, and the remainder are represented by third-party administrators.
Great. And with that, we will hand it back over to Chris.
Great. Thank you, Lindsay and Maurice, and thank you, Ellen, Srona, and Day before them. I hope that that those of you attending today took away from the outreach and education part of the presentation how much we want to find you and how much we want to help you understand how everything that we do works so that you can get the maximum benefit from the work we're doing on your behalf. And then from the support presentation, what I hope you'll take away is how hard we work to engage with you, to give you opportunities to speak with us directly, one-on-one, and to give us feedback on how we're doing. We recognize that everything we do can be better. It is your feedback that gives us the clues on how to make things better, to better meet your needs. And that cycle of continuous improvement is one that we are committed to for as long as we operate. It's what ultimately leads to better results for you. All of the things that you've heard about today, we have built and established in less than 3 years of full operations. And I think it's important to note that as well. All of this work has happened in a really incredibly short period of time. And a big chunk of that time, we were all dealing with the effects of an unprecedented global pandemic that certainly did not make life easy for any of us. It was an incredibly challenging time, and yet here we are together, again, less than 2.5 years into full operations, having established a working, a highly functioning collective management organization in an area of the business that did not have one before, and we continue to work every day to try to make it better for you. So again, we want to find you, we want to help you, and we hope that you will accept that invitation wherever you receive it to join us at an event or contact one of our support team members so that we can learn more about how to help you. As we look ahead to next year, there are certainly any number of things that I could talk about, but I'm going to touch on two aspects of really one issue that will certainly have an outsized impact on your business in the coming year, and that is the adjustments that relate to the finalization of the Phono 3 rates, and then again, the work that we will be able to do around the Phono 3 historical unmatched royalties from 2018, 19, and 20. So if I move ahead to the next slide, what you will see is there are 3 different categories of data and royalties that will need to be adjusted now that the rates for the Phono 3 period have been finalized. The first two relate to uses of your songs that took place in 2018, 2019, or 2020. Those were the 3 years of that Phono 3 rate period that took place or fell before the MLC began administering the new compulsory blanket license established by Congress. The third bucket relates to the blanket usage that we have been administering since January of 2021. And again, it covers the first 2 years of our operations, 2021 and 22, which were the last 2 years of the Phono 3 rate period. So that first bucket is the previously paid royalties that DSPs distributed to you. To the extent that you were paid royalties by a digital service for uses of your songs that took place between 2018 and 2020, those first 3 years of that rate period, DSPs are solely responsible for processing any necessary adjustments to the payments they made to you. So you will be hearing from those services or vendors that they have engaged to help them regarding any adjustments that they need to make to the royalties that they previously distributed to you. The second bucket or category of adjustments relates to the historical unmatched royalties that 21 services transferred to the MLC that relates to the uses of your songs that took place in that same 3-year period between 2018 and 2020. Once the DSPs delivered their adjusted data to us and either pay us additional royalties that might be due or provide us with the data that allows us to understand any adjustments to the amounts they previously transferred that might lower that amount, we will then be able to begin processing and distributing the matched royalties for this period. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we have already matched more than 75% of the historical unmatched royalties. So we know that quite a bit of royalties from this period will begin to flow once the rates are finalized and we have that final adjusted data. So that is certainly something to look forward to. And then the third category, again, the blanket usage that we have distributed for 2021 and 2022. These were the first 2 years the MLC administered the blanket compulsory license and the last 2 years of the Phono 3 rate period. We distributed royalties for those first 2 years using the Phono 2 rates because those were the rates that were effective while the Phono 3 rates continued to be litigated and ultimately resolved by the Copyright Royalty Board. We will now receive adjusted data for those 2 years of usage from DSPs, and based on that adjusted data, either distribute incremental royalties that were due to you or potentially adjust royalties that were paid to you in the event that there is the need for an adjustment. So those, that is the third category of royalties that will be subject to adjustments. Recall again from earlier in the deck that the majority, the overwhelming majority of the historical unmatched royalties actually pertain to those final 3 years before the blanket compulsory license took effect. So those royalties will certainly be a significant piece of the adjustments process. And again, the amounts may be adjusted depending on that final data we receive from the DSPs, but it will certainly be in the neighborhood of that $373 million that we initially received. The first set of adjustments that the DSPs are responsible for, they will have to determine what the impact of those is, and then we will determine the impact of the adjustments to the third category, the adjustments to the blanket royalties that we previously distributed at those Phono 2 rates. The timing of this is now known because, again, earlier this summer, the final rate determination issued by the Copyright Royalty Board was published in the Federal Register. That took place on August 10th of this year. That was the moment that began the 6-month clock for the DSPs to deliver their Phono 3 adjustments to the MLC for the second and third categories that I just went through above. That makes the deadline for services to deliver the any adjusted data they need to deliver to us February 9th of 2024. what that means is that in a matter of months after that deadline, we should be in a position to begin distributing adjusted royalties related to those two buckets of Phono 3 royalties. Certainly the historical royalties from 2018, 19, and 20, we've already done quite a bit of work behind the scenes on those royalties. So those will certainly begin to get distributed next spring, provided nothing else changes. And then we also hope to begin to process any adjustments to the blanket royalties for 2021 and 2022 that we previously distributed at the Phono 2 rates. That process, once it begins, will continue throughout the rest of next year, much like the cadence of distribution for the pre-Phono 3 historical royalties. We began that in June of last year, and then each month thereafter, we distributed additional royalties from additional DSPs as we work through the data. I very much expect the process will work similarly for the Phono 3 period. So again, that money will hopefully start to flow in the spring of next year within a matter of months after we receive the adjusted data from the services. And then each month you will see more and more of that on your statements. As we did with the pre-Phono 3 historical royalties, we will let you know in each member newsletter what we are processing, what we have distributed, so that you can keep track of our progress in working through all of that data. And as always, if you have questions, once that process begins, you can contact our support team. Again, this is what we envision today. If DSPs deliver the data earlier, it is possible that process will be accelerated. If something else were to happen that impacts this timeline, it could be delayed, but we will continue to update you in our newsletter and through other forums and events like this, should anything change. So right now, this is our best guess of what we think the timeline will look like. So we have covered a lot of information in a relatively short period of time. Let me leave you just with a couple of headlines from today's presentation. Again, we have distributed now more than $1.5 billion, billion with a B, in blanket royalties. We've done that through 31 monthly royalty distributions, each of which has been on time or a day or two early. We are currently matching a little more than 90% of the royalties that we process. We've enrolled more than 32,000 members, and we've compiled data for more than 33 million works in our public database. We've already matched 75% of the historical royalties to a work in our database, which means if you have claimed your shares of those works, you will receive any historical royalties that we received from those DSPs that elected to transfer them to us. That is a great reminder to everyone to please continue to look at your data, to look at the data we have for you, to make sure you have claimed all the shares of any works you're entitled to receive royalties on. We want to pay all of the royalties that we have been able to match to our members, but to do that, you need to claim your shares of those works. So please check the claiming tool, check your data, use that catalog export to export your data so that you can compare it with your internal records and make sure that we have the most complete set of information about your songs so we can pay you. And then lastly, but certainly not least, we continue to try to make service a priority in everything we do. Please contact our support team. Please contact us and let us know where we can do better. We're committed to doing better every day, every month, every year. And above all, thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done, all the ways that you play your part to help make this process, this system, this organization successful for you. One last reminder, again, if you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can follow us on any of our social media channels. I'd encourage you to read our monthly member newsletter, where you will find useful information, important updates, and never any advertisements or other clutter. So it's an easy, short read once a month. And then again, if you want to contact our support team with questions, you can reach them by phone. You can initiate an email correspondence with us by filling out the form on our website that you see located there at that URL. And then you can also chat with us in the portal at any time. Again, the support team is available 5 days a week from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. With that, I will stop sharing my screen to briefly, hopefully, take over the rest of the screen to say thank you all for joining. And I look forward to seeing you at a future event in the coming year. Thanks so much.